And welcome back to How to Grow Weed.
Whoa, that's the wrong podcast.
Oh, what? Wait a second.
That's the podcast, Ed. Come on.
Which one is it?
We're on the road to code.
Oh, Road to Code. That's right. Welcome back to the Road to Code.
Another episode of coding. But
This
not
is-
coding.
Well, you need what we're going to talk about in order to get coding done. So we're going to take a break today from coding. We're going to give Jonathan a breather. And we actually have a guest on. His name's Gerard. He's my stepson, and he has gotten into hardware. And so we'll go ahead and we'll start the podcast here with a few questions that you should know about Gerard. All right, tell us who you are, what you do.
My name is Gerard, and I work at Toyota selling parts at wholesale. We have a couple shops around the area that we sell to. So they call us and we send them parts.
Sweet.
Basically, my job description is part selling. About it.
Nice. How did you get started with hardware and computers?
All to you.
To me,
We grew up around computers our whole lives, basically. And
Ever since I could remember, we had tech around us.
yep,
So.
all the time.
all the time. So it wasn't by chance, huh?
Nope, not at all.
It was just being inundated in it.
Yeah, you made me there was I forgot who it was. I think it was Chris. You had me replace like a couple RAM sticks in his like super old computer. I opened it up and it's like just full of dust. And I'm like, that's probably why your computer keeps turning off.
We'll tell Chris I charged him full price for child labor.
Yeah, but since then, I've been all about computers.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you sell hardware for cars. So you sell parts for cars
Exactly.
for a living.
Yep.
And then you naturally went into working with parts and computers and putting them together.
Yep.
It's because you enjoy tinkering with stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What got you into building PCs? 'Cause that came recent.
Yeah, it's just my love for technology. I'm a really big tech head. I really love technology. I always have to have the most updated stuff.
What is that, an iPhone?
No, Samsung Galaxy Note 20.
Wow.
Are you still using the Note?
Yeah.
Man, they used to make so much fun of me with the Note when I got it because you recommended it. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll get the Note. I got the first generation, the Note 1. It wasn't even called the Note 1. It was just called the Note.
Note, yeah.
And everybody was telling me, like, man, this thing's a freaking phablet. You know, is it a phone or is it a tablet? Let's just call it a phablet.
Mhm.
And around the office, people would like literally pick up a keyboard and they were like, hello.
Yep. Same here.
Other people would like, walk up to a door and they would like grab the door and hello.
Even with the Dell Streak too.
The Dell Streak? That was the first one before the Note, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was a monster.
Yeah. And I used to have so much trouble keeping that thing charged because that screen just sucked so much power from that battery. And so yeah. But anyways, back to the question. How'd you get into building PCs?
It was years and years that I've always wanted to build one. Just never had the chance or the right funds until I saved up. I think I probably saved up for a whole year and a half actually to build what I have now, my dream setup basically.
Wow. What's your dream setup? What is it?
Yeah, we should talk about BJ's setup right now.
Really? Okay. Well, it's a 7th gen, I think it was. i7 Intel, the 7700K. So it's unlocked, so I could overclock it. I have a crazy motherboard, an Asus Code, I think it was Maximus Code or something. Um, I have the CPU water cooled, so I have a radiator. Talk about cars.
Talk
Um,
about-
I have an actual radiator in my freaking computer. And then I have a pretty beefy graphics card. It's the 1660. I think that one only has 6 gigs of VRAM. And I have
Only
16, yeah, only.
most of my virtual machines that I do development only have 6 gigs of RAM, period. And maybe 128 megabytes of video.
And then 16 gigs of I believe it's CAS latency 16 at 3000 megahertz.
Wow,
So that's pretty fast.
it is.
It's decent for nowadays.
How
Now
old
we
is
have
it?
like since 2017.
Okay, that's about
That's
5 years
not,
old now.
yeah, it's not too old. Um it still has some oomph to it. So yeah, that's my beast of a machine that
So
I
you
have.
you built it.
I built it,
Oh,
yeah.
wait a second. That was the machine you brought over to install Windows.
Mm,
That you don't have a DVD drive in there, and we had to
oh,
create
yeah.
a bootable USB stick
Yeah.
that would have the installer, the Windows 10 installer on the USB stick.
Yep.
I still have that stick around.
Cool.
It was I picked up that memory stick from a build conference, and I've actually had to use it a couple times to install Windows on other machines.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I think
So it
I've used
wasn't
it.
just a one-time use. That's
It
pretty cool.
wasn't just a one time. I think I probably used it a total of one with you, two with the laptop that I reset. Um, yeah, at least twice that I can remember. Maybe a
Nice.
third one that I don't. No, because I had a DVD on my other machines. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we had to sit there and figure out is like, I know there's a way to do it through USB, and you thought you were gonna have to install a DVD player. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want a DVD player. It's a waste of space. And it's like, yeah, I remember that. Cool.
Yep.
So what do you use it? What do you use that rig for? Or how many
Um,
monitors you got connected to that monster video card?
I have 4.
4 of them, and you only have one camera. I
Yep.
thought you'd have at least 3. Wow. 4
Yep.
monitors.
I use it for I just got a racing simulator wheel.
What?
So, yeah. It's all 3 screens. I could have my peripheral vision. It's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Like a NASCAR racing game?
No, it's like a track car, like
Like a what?
tracks, like just track rally racing.
Oh, okay. Pretty cool.
Yep.
And you could talk to the other, is it like an online game?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could talk to other racers around the world?
Yeah.
That's something that you guys have always been into, huh? You guys, even with the days of the Xbox,
Yep.
you guys were always like talking to others and stuff. So cool. So that was your first rig.
That I ever built. Yeah.
And then from there, what you started just building for others, or what were
Built
you
for others. Yeah. I built for probably I built for 2 coworkers. And they bought off me. And I have parts for another coworker that he's gonna get into PC gaming.
And so what is it? What is it about people that just don't go out and buy a PC? Why do they want like something so specific? What is so important about that?
It's just the amount of updatability that they could use or they could do. Um, they could spec it out to exactly what they want, and budget is a big factor. So like a pre-built computer, you're looking to spend over like 1,000, and it's not even like good parts in there. They could cheap out on the RAM sticks. They could cheap out on the power supply. Um, with custom building a computer, you have just unlimited amounts of parts that you could use at your own abilities, and you could buy them just separately and upgrade them even more, like further in the future. So future proofing your build.
Yeah, that is true because the two machines that I have, which are they're virtual appliances. All they do as one is a file server. I have like it's four terabyte drives, and they're rated, which means that I lose 4 terabytes, so I only have 12 terabytes. And what happens is that the first drive stores its information and then it backs up to the second drive. The second drive stores its information and backs up to the third drive. The third drive saves its information and backs up to the fourth drive. And then the fourth one saves its information and backs up back to the first drive. So you end up losing four gigs out of there, or 4 terabytes out of the four drives that you have. So out of 16 terabyte capacity, you end up with 12. And so I use that as a file server. And then I also have another machine that is just strictly to run virtual machines. And so you run virtual machines. I actually have both are AMDs, I think. I did get the Ryzen, but this was Ryzen from 2012. And those machines are still running. And I've had problems with them where I've had to go and replace hardware. So I had to go replace fans for both the CPU and the case because these were brush fans that came with the case and came with the CPU. So I replaced them with brushless fans, and they're a lot quieter now. You can still hear the air moving, but because they're brushless, you don't hear the actual fan spinning the way that you used to hear them. Other than that, one power supply. I did have to replace one power supply.
Nice.
But yeah, they're still running. I mean, I'm like running. I think I'm running like, gosh, let me share my screen to see what it is that I'm running. Here, I'm gonna share. Can you guys see that?
Nope. Nothing. Oh, there we go.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
You see the Microsoft Remote Desktop?
Big rig.
That's right.
Yeah.
Big rig. So I'm on a Mac, and can you guys see the black screen?
Yep.
All right, I'm waiting for it. There it is. So this is running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 machines, which 2 of them are off right now. So I got a database server and an Ubuntu machine that I'm running. And don't ask about the downloader. I'm not going to answer any questions. I may or may not be downloading stuff. This is my developer machine for a fresh developer, which is where I do most of my development on. And then I have a Linux machine that I could run. And then I have a Windows Dev Machine 1, and then I have 2 machines that I do for software, which I do my training videos on. Each one runs about 6 to 8 gigs of RAM, and each one is running at a minimum 2 cores, but some of them are running 4 cores of virtual CPU. You can see my memory is 97% used right now. I'm running 32 gigs of RAM in there. The CPU isn't doing a whole lot, but it is constantly being used by the operating systems. I have a solid state disk for my main operating system. And then I have a solid state disk where I run my virtual machine. And then I have one, I think it's a 4 terabyte hard drive as well. And I use that for storage. So I use it to store the ISO images. And you can see where the internet is just being utilized all the time because all machines are constantly pinging the internet and doing stuff on it. So, but yeah, this one machine basically is currently running 5 virtual machines. And so what does that look like? So if I go over to, say, a fresh developer, this one is running my accounts for a fresh developer. And I'm also running Visual Studio, which I'm doing some testing for this project that I'm working on called Conduit. And I run all the software that for development. I run a bunch of browsers. Jonathan's familiar with this command, with this terminal. So he knows exactly what that is. Jonathan, you care to talk about what this terminal is?
Yeah, it looks like you're sharing to Git right there. To
Yeah.
GitHub.
But this is actually going to, it's not going to GitHub, it's actually going to Azure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so, but yeah. And so because I'm already running at 97% memory capacity, I need to start looking. I've already maxed out the memory on this. I can't put any more. So I'm actually looking to replace this machine and maybe even replace my file server. So the file server is another machine that's running. And I'm thinking about just joining the two together, running the file server and the big rig as one machine. So the big rig would just end up being the file server and the one that runs the virtual appliance. Pretty cool stuff.
Very.
That's what I use. So what episode was there where we installed the virtual machine using a virtual box and then we installed Ubuntu on your machine? What episode?
Episode 3.
Episode 3. So if you see episode 3 of the Road to Code, that is an example of what the big rig is. It's running, just virtual machines in there. And I use them for development.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Very cool. Crazy.
So you built 2 machines for coworkers.
Yeah.
Are those the only ones, or you've done others?
Those are the only ones.
All
so
right.
Far.
Cool. Cool. Do you have any more that are coming down? Well, you said you have one.
Yeah. Right now, I kind of just stopped, I guess, promoting myself, I think, on Instagram, because of the shortage of the chips. The new RTX 3000 series, you can't even get your hands on those because they go out of stock every time they go in stock.
What is RTX?
It's the video cards, the NVIDIA RTX ray tracing cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to get one, and it's almost impossible right now.
What would you say is the most important piece of hardware in the main box? Forget about keyboard, mouse, and screens, because you can go ballistics on that and really spend some big money on really nice looking monitors. But like, what goes inside the main CPU? What would you say is the most important expensive piece of equipment in there?
Probably the graphics card, if you're looking at gaming. Either that or the processor.
Yeah, those would be the 2.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that I save myself on, because I'm not a gamer. And I never need a graphics card. I prefer just to use onboard graphics, because they're headless units. They don't have a monitor attached to it. They don't have a keyboard attached to it. They don't have a mouse. They're just a box. They're just an appliance. And as you can see from my Mac, I remote into it. And so just over the network, and my Mac becomes my keyboard, mouse, and everything
Yeah.
for those machines.
That's
So I
cool.
think that's where I can save like my money, where I don't have to do graphics cards and stuff.
Mm.
Although one of them, I think it's the big rig that has a good graphics card. I think I built that one for Jonathan, and then Jonathan ended up getting the Microsoft Surface.
Yeah.
And then you said, yeah, Dad, I don't need this anymore. And I was like, all right, I'll take it back. I just made it a virtual appliance. So that thing's been since at least 2011, if not 2012, huh?
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's about 10 years old, the big rig. That's the one where I think I had to replace the power supply and the fans. So
Nice. I think I do have one, a pre-built Lenovo Idea Center or something. It has like the 3rd gen Intel i7. I believe that's from 2011, 2012. I still
wow,
use it, yeah.
that's crazy.
Granted, I had to like restore Windows and everything because it was like super slow. It took like 15, 20 minutes to boot up. Yeah.
Did you put a solid state drive in there?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, that's why it takes so long.
Yeah.
Wow. I couldn't imagine having a PC without solid state. That
Yeah,
it would
it's like
drive me crazy.
it's the go-to nowadays. Now they have the M.2 storage, the NVMe's that actually get hooked up into your motherboard.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy how small they are.
Because you don't have to go through USB anymore, huh?
Nope.
You go directly to the motherboard, which cuts out on it.
The
You don't have to
PCIe.
use, yeah, you don't have to use, you use a bus speed, not
Yeah.
the USB speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
So it's
pretty
like
crazy.
3,000 megabytes a second or something.
Versus 300.
Yeah.
I think it's gigs, is it? No. Yeah, you're right. Megabytes. I think it's megabytes. Yeah. Versus 300 megabytes going through USB.
I actually have a couple waiting to be used. I like to stock up on parts when everything gets back to normal. I just have a couple parts here
Yeah.
and have it ready for people to build.
Cool. Jonathan, any questions so far?
No, I'm still learning a lot too about computers. This is all pretty new to me.
Well, it's interesting because Gerard went down the hardware route and you're actually going down the software route.
Yeah.
So it just goes to
pretty cool.
show that when you get into technology, man, it's like there's two completely different fields you can get into.
Mm-hmm.
Endless
And-
possibilities.
Yeah, endless possibilities. I mean, you still have like, even if you build them, they still break, so you got to fix them.
Mhm.
So just like cars, right? You can make a
Yep.
car, so you can become an engineer that builds cars, but you still got to be a mechanic in order to be able to fix them.
Yep.
And it's up to the engineers to build them in such a way that they're easy to fix. And they're not, you're not stuck just having to replace the whole unit like when you buy a pre-built computer. So yeah. So let's talk about the machine you built for Jonathan.
Okay.
Where'd that come from?
Well, it was his birthday, so
It was
I just-
last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
was it last year? Jeez.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't know. I just felt like him working on a little Microsoft Surface or whatever, the Pro, little tablet, and him editing videos on that little thing. It was just, I couldn't imagine like how much screen real estate he would need with the computer I built him. And
Yeah.
how much.
Portability comes at a price.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The performance you lose is just crazy. It's like you lose a lot of performance.
I actually have, I was thinking about switching my PC case to a smaller case for portability. I think I have it right here. Oh, never mind. I don't know where it went, but it has a little handle on it and it's like pretty small.
You're going to carry that little case with 4 monitors and a radiator.
Yep.
Not sure how portable that's really going to be. You might as well just bolt it onto the ground at that point. Hook it up to the water supply that comes into the house, and then have the heated water that's all radiated from the heat in the machine just into the sewage at that point. I don't know how portability is going to work in that particular scenario. But yeah, portability comes at a price because one is you got to have airflow, you got to have fans. And on my Mac, I mean, I have a MacBook Pro. I got one of the latest, and man, these fans get loud. I mean, they get super loud. And so when I'm editing video, when I'm running some video, like right now, like you can hear them in the background, just you know hissing away. I'm sure the water cooler uh, um, for the CPU is probably a lot quieter. You don't need super loud fans. You just need the radiator to
Yeah.
you just need the fans to blow air through the radiator, which are at a constant speed. And
Yeah.
so yeah, portability definitely comes at a price.
Yep. Yep.
So what hardware did you choose, and why did you choose that hardware?
So me knowing him, he was gonna edit videos. I went with top of the line AMD processor at the time. Since then they released another, I think it's Gen 4 AMD right now or something like that, but he has the 3700X, which is I think it's an 8-core, 16-thread CPU. For the graphics card, I went with the EVGA 2060, which I think has 8 gigs of VRAM. So
Jonathan doesn't know. He's all like, the display is great.
I can see you guys perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think for the RAM, I went with 16 gigs of 3600 megahertz at CAS latency 16, I believe it was too.
What is the CAS latency?
Um, I am not too sure, but the lower the better.
So when I don't know what it means. I'm sure CAS is abbreviation for something, but when I hear latency, I'm thinking the 16 is like 16 milliseconds of latency, which is very fast. I mean, 1 millisecond is faster than a blink of an eye. 16 milliseconds, I would say, is still faster than a blink of an eye. And so the latency that you get when you read and write from the memory is very, very low. And so I have a feeling that that's probably what it's talking about. Cool.
Yep. What else did I go? I think for the hard drive, I chose a 4 terabyte for the amount of video storage he's gonna need, or the storage for his videos he's editing. And for the OS, I think I put a 1 terabyte solid state drive, I believe.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Seems
Decently
like a pretty...
spec'd.
What type of motherboard did you put in there?
It was a ASRock B450M. So it's the micro ATX, I believe.
Okay.
The form factor. So it fit in, I think his case is a little smaller. It's like a mid ATX case. Yeah, that was
Is it a full width or like
no, it's
quarter
like a
width?
little it's a little square.
Okay.
It's not a full rectangle.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
Yep.
I was pretty impressed when we did the virtual machine in episode 3.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I was like, yeah, let's check out what you got. Let's see what BJ put together for you. And yeah, when I saw it, I was like, whoa, 16 cores. Obviously, I knew it was 8 cores, but
Yeah.
each core is hyper-threaded. And so something interesting about that is that most machines oh, when did cores start appearing on the scene? Like maybe 2005, 2008, maybe? I
I
think
don't even
like somewhere
remember.
around there. I forget exactly when. But they pretty much maxed out. They couldn't make processors any faster. I mean, the heat that the processors produce, just required so much cooling. They're like, we can't make them any faster because, you'd have to run like what's that ice that's in a non-liquid
Dry
form.
ice.
Like, yeah, you have to use dry ice just to keep it cool.
Oh, liquid nitrogen. I think I've seen that.
Yeah. And so it's like, we can't do anymore. So what they said, okay, we'll just start putting more cores into one processor. So each processor has a bunch of little processors in them. The hyperthreading had already came in. And essentially, I think what the hyperthreading does is that if you look at the clock, at a regular watch or a clock, and you count, obviously the 12 is at the north side, and then you have the 6 at the south side of the clock, right? So, and then you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 all the way to 12. I think what happens is that the hyperthreading, every time the processor does a circle, so that's why they call it hertz, right? Because it's a circle that it does. Every time it goes through, the first time around it does odd numbers, so it goes and processes information on the odd numbers. And because it does it so fast, it's just going to sit there and spin and continuously just wait for the instruction set to come back indicating that, hey, this process, it's done, you can move on to the next. So instead of what they did, they were going so fast that they ended up doing odd numbers on one turn and then even on the other ones, which is why you see it as two threads. But it's really just, the processors just imagine it just running in circles, handling jobs. And the first time around, it handles the odd numbers, and then the second time it handles the even numbers. And that's where you get the hyperthreading. So each processor that's inside the main processor is hyperthreaded. So even though you have 8 cores, because it's hyperthreaded, it looks like 16 cores. So when I saw 16 cores, I'm like, oh man, I'd like give this machine some cores already. I think we gave it like 4 cores or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the 16 gigs, I was like, oh yeah, like you can give this thing like 6 gigs at least, and your machine still has plenty of memory to work on and whatnot. So yeah, so I was pretty impressed. I was like, wow, I go, this is a pretty beefy machine here.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So basically you picked the hardware based on what you knew he was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, getting familiar with your customer base and what they need is probably, you could probably build a better machine than walking into like I'm not going to name any names of stores, but like walking into your typical computer store and saying, hey, I need a machine to do X, Y, and Z. And then somebody picks a machine for you that said, well, this can do X, Y, but maybe not Z, but you can always just do Z separately, and so you don't really get the hardware that you need in order to get what you need done, unless you just buy a straight up gaming machine, because the gaming machine has everything.
Yeah.
It has a fast processor, a fast hard drive, a fast internet connection or Ethernet connection, a fast, video. I mean, just the latency is just so low on those gaming machines that that's pretty much what developers use in order to compile the code really fast, because when we compile code, sometimes it takes like 5-10 minutes to compile a few, 100,000 lines of code into machine language, and then running it, just another second compilation that it goes through. And so yeah, having the lowest latency definitely helps. And so not everybody can afford a gaming machine because those things are freaking expensive.
Yeah.
But if you get the hardware that you want specifically, you can target what the person is looking for and keep the price affordable.
Yep.
And so, yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Jonathan, how's the machine been working for you?
I feel like it's perfect for what I do. I barely do any gaming, so I don't need like anything super beefy. I do like really light gaming. Um, Obviously video editing. Um, I do a lot of sometimes Photoshop and some kind of like programs like that. It's like on the side. But yeah, mostly video editing, and it comes out pretty good. I mean, there's no lags or anything. It processes the videos pretty good, pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Like when we're doing the code, you know, when we're programming in C#,
Mhm.
and I see it compiling. I mean, most of the time, that's like the time where you just sit there and wait. It's like, oh man, like let this thing, you know, wait for it to come up. But yeah, there's, I mean, it compiles stuff really quick and it runs stuff. I mean, I was surprised that we had to, how high did we have to go up on the prime numbers before we actually saw?
Oh yeah, it was in the thousands, I think.
I think we got up to like 1 million or like 10 million or something
Yeah,
like that
something like that.
before it actually was taking time
Hmm.
to find prime numbers. It was just finding prime numbers quick, you know? And it would just like he'd press go, you know, to run the program, and then like it was done, you know. I was like, okay, let's do 100,000 to see what it, and it was done. I was like, all right, let's try 1 million, you know. And I think we ended up going to like 10 million to find, you know, prime numbers between 2 and 10 million. And that's when we started seeing like, oh, now it's working. Look at that. You know, now it's taking time to go through and finding prime numbers and whatnot. And so
That's funny.
yeah, it was pretty high up there. It was really high up there to make it work. Like anything less than 1 million, it just ripped right through it. Like here you go. Those are all the prime numbers between 2 and 1 million. You know, so cool, very cool. And okay, so yeah, so I was gonna ask you, other than programming, what do you use it for? But you already mentioned that for video editing and stuff like that. I mean, my machines have lasted me at least 10 years, and mines are both AMD Ryzen's. Um, my previous Mac, which I handed down to someone, that's still going. I mean, that thing's I've taken it through the mill, actually dropped it, and on my screen and the body where the keyboard is, I mean, there's like a big dent. It looks like somebody took a grinder and just, you know, like grinded the thing. But other than that, I mean, that thing's it's still running perfectly fine. It has an Intel i7, I want to say second generation. I don't know what generation they're in right now. I got it in 2014. What generation would that be?
Probably,
Sixth generation.
probably six.
So right now, I just recently got my new Mac, and it's running the i9.
Oh, wow.
And I I don't see it. I mean, it pushes it, you know. But I'm also looking forward to the M1. Hopefully, the MacBook Pro comes as M1, because I saw this one guy running a Mac Air running an M1 and a MacBook Pro, and he took the same video, same editor, and he ran the rendering, and it took 30 minutes for it to render on a MacBook Pro with an i7 processor. The M1, which is a Mac Air, the Mac Air is equivalent to, I don't know, if we were to compare it to cars, I would say that the MacBook Pro is kind of like your high-end Corvette, and the Mac Air is your budget Toyota Prius, you know, which doesn't go very fast comparing it to a Corvette. But because the M1 is so specific to the hardware, when he rendered that same video, it rendered it in 10 minutes, where the MacBook Pro took 30 minutes to render it.
Wow.
And the MacBook Pro running a Intel i7 versus the M1, which is the first generation Apple chip that came out. So I'm actually looking forward to that for it to come out on the MacBook Pro. They don't have it yet. And so I want to see what kind of performance. I don't know that I'll get the first generation, but I'll definitely start looking at it when they do come out and see if it's worth getting it at that point.
Nice.
So very cool. Very cool. So I have a challenge for you, Beej. I actually want to get rid of my big rig and my file server and put it into one machine. And I'm looking, I sent you some specs.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that?
I saw that.
Any idea?
Those
I
are
don't even need a
decent.
graphics card on there. We could use onboard graphics, you know?
Yeah.
What, any idea? What would that?
Well,
let's talk about the specs before you come up with the price.
yeah, that one, I think it was 16 cores that you wanted, right?
16 core. Well, I mean, obviously one like Jonathan, right? The Ryzen, which is eight cores and hyper-threaded, would emulate 16 cores.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking I want 64 gigs. I mean, you saw my big rig. I mean, I'm at 97% memory capacity, running 5 virtual machines. And so I'm thinking it would be good to bump it up to 64. I don't know if they have a motherboard that can run 64.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yeah.
With one processor, or do I need 2 processors?
No, it's just one.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm getting excited. And then now you just mentioned something that's interesting, which is the type of hard drive that you can connect directly to the motherboard versus going through USB.
Yeah. The NVMEs, they're small. It's I think I've seen motherboards actually have up to 3 of those slots available. 2 on the front and then 1 on the back, actually, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, we could do that. I think those, I don't know what the storage on those go up to, but I've seen like 2 terabyte ones, 3 terabyte ones. But those are pretty pricey.
Well, I would say, so even a 1 terabyte is pretty pricey?
I have 2 of them in stock. But those are pretty cheap because
the 1 terabytes?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were on sale. So I got 2 of them, took advantage of the sale, and they were like on sale. One cost like $80. I think regular price is like 130.
Wow.
Yeah. So they could go pretty
yeah
high up there. And
because I'm thinking if I can get 2, because the hard drives, the virtual hard drives that I run, they're actually really small. With a total of the 8 machines that I have, 7 or 8 machines that I have, the largest hard drive I run on those is like 140 gigs. I don't run big hard drives because they're very specific. They're not like my MacBook Pro, right? Obviously I got it with 1 terabyte SSD, but it's because it's multi-purpose. You know, I'm going to be storing stuff on it and then copying it to my server. I'm going to be editing, video. I would never do anything like that on a virtual machine. So I can keep the hard drive small because those machines are used specifically for one purpose. So they're very specific, all those virtual machines.
Yeah.
For example, I have a downloader, right, that I use strictly for downloading because I don't want to risk downloading on any of those machines, downloading some virus or whatever, my Windows Dev 1 machine, I do that as like a crash test dummy. It just like literally I'll write a program. I want to see what it does and I'm experimenting. And then that's it. I toss that code away. I don't really do anything with it. So I think that hard drive is like literally 80 gigs. It's like, it's very small.
Yeah.
80 gigs? No, smaller than that. 80. Yeah, 80 gigs, probably like an 80 gig hard drive. And the reason I picked 80 was because freaking Windows takes 40 of it,
Yeah.
It takes 40, and then you got the patches and the download and the yeah, mostly the patches and the updates.
Jeez, 80
Which
80 gigs is like the size of Call of Duty right now. Just one game.
So yeah, so I wouldn't even run that. You know, it's just it's so specific. And then a fresh developer, which is where I do some automation stuff when I'm doing some coding. I want to see how certain automation things work. That one I think is one of my largest hard drives, like 140 gigs. And then my two Thinkster machines, I rehearse on one. I call one test and I call one live. So I rehearse on the test and then I run my recording, live on another and whatnot.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, so those, I think they're running like 120 each. The Ubuntu machine, I'm only running like 80 gigs on it because Linux only takes literally, it takes like 10 gigs. So I have like 70 gigs of storage available, to install whatever I need to. So Linux is such a light operating system to use. And then the other two are real machines, the file server and the big rig. And that's where on the big rig, I'm actually running two 1 terabyte solid state drives. And then I'm running a 3 terabyte hard drive just for storage. And then on the file server is where I'm also running a one terabyte. No, actually the file server is only running a 256 terabyte for the operating system. And then I'm running the 16 terabytes of storage. And so, yeah. So they're not that sophisticated. But if I was to join them, I would like to have two 1 terabyte drives or solid state drives.
Yeah.
One for the operating system, and then one to run the virtual machines, and then the hard drives. And those have to be hard drives because they're long term.
Yeah.
So the thing about solid state is that they have a limited lifespan, and so I pretty much back up there. Even my virtual machines, I'll back those up to the hard drive because I know that the hard drives are, they last a lot longer. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean, if you can come up with something to replace those two machines, we'll build it on video, and
That'll be awesome.
We'll put it up on a podcast when we talk about all the parts and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to add?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet.
I have some things coming up though. I'm trying to come up with a logo for our podcast so we can be a little bit more official. Try to spice it up a bit over here.
Sweet.
What episode was it that we did a domain registration?
I think it was 4 or 5.
Did you see that one yet?
Sorry, no, I haven't. It's episode 6.
Oh, it's episode 6.
It's coming up tomorrow.
Wait, episode 6 was OOP. Oh, because we separated out to its own little segment, because that was going to take that one. I remember that podcast took us like 4 hours to record.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so what we did is we, and then plus I was still flutzing around with it because we couldn't get it to come up.
Yeah.
And so I finally went in there like, oh, okay, I see what I did wrong. But we registered a domain, and we published a website. It was just a little Hello World website. How much was it? $20?
Yeah, like $20.
That's cool.
It just goes to show anybody can have a website for $20. You just got to know how to do it. So yeah, cool. So that whole thing, and you're gonna add the fix at the end, right?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, we did that.
Nice.
That one's a really interesting one. I think that was Jonathan's first time going through that process.
I feel like that should be its own episode. I would talk about that, or like its own. Well, I don't know.
It could.
Yeah, like
it absolutely could. I mean, because yeah, I mean it's one of those things that you can easily just go through it. Anyhow, unless you guys have anything else that you want to add, we can go ahead and close up this episode. Thanks, Beej, for joining us. Hope you had fun. We made it
I definitely did.
cool.
Very
Talking
interesting.
tech. Talking tech.
Yeah.
It's our new segment.
It's funny that you guys grew up around tech with me, and now you guys are like still continuing and
Yeah.
just continuously learning from it.
I mean, I have like so much tech that I just have it like laying around on my bed.
You sleep with it?
No, I was just taking it out because this is the motherboard that I actually use in Jonathan's PC.
Ah,
It's an ASRock, and then this is the RAM.
nice.
Has latency. Yeah.
Nice. How much memory can that motherboard handle?
I think 32.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the are the motherboards that handle 64, are they exponentially more expensive or no?
Nope.
And RAM's pretty cheap these days?
RAM, yeah. RAM, it's readily available. You could just go into any computer store and buy it. I don't think they're inflated right now because the only things that are like super high in price right now are the graphics card because the miners are stealing them all away from us.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That is true. What would you say the machine with the specs that I gave you, what would that ballpark figure, what would that run?
Well, we could use the same processor that in Jonathan's. I think they're right now $200 now, which
Wow,
is not bad at all.
not bad at all compared to
Um,
the $1,200 iCore 9.
yeah. Actually, I think those came down significantly in price too. I
They
think
had to.
the 9th gen, I believe, are 250. They're decent now.
Wow,
Yeah.
are you
I've
serious?
seen them on sale for 250.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Man, I've shied away from them because they're so expensive.
Yeah, when they came out, they were freaking super high in price.
Wow, that's nuts. That's crazy. But you would still recommend the Ryzen?
Yeah, just the amount of processing power they have,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to overclock is pretty significant.
Yeah.
And, they're decent. They're good bang for the buck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's cool. And 64 gigs of RAM, what would that?
Um, I'm not too sure. I think you're looking at about close to 200.
That's not bad actually.
Yeah. Because I know 32 gigs, uh, well, the ones that I have right now that I'm thinking of upgrading my PC, but I don't know yet. They're 32 gigs and I got that for 130, I want to say.
Wow.
But those are the ones with like the fancy RGB lights and CAS latency, like
Yeah.
14, I think. And yeah.
Now, the motherboard, what would that more or less, what does a motherboard go for?
Uh, they're you could get maybe uh B550, which is the most current generation of motherboards for the Ryzen, um, between 100 and 150.
Wow.
Yeah,
So a couple $100 for the RAM, couple $100 for the processor, couple $100 for the motherboard. That's $600, and
yeah,
then you're looking at each solid state drive about another $100 each. So you got $800, and then all we're looking for is the hard drives, which are prices unknown on that, but they probably don't go for much either.
not at all.
I mean, I could reuse the drives that I have right now.
Hmm.
I just need a place to move everything to. Do you still have that RAID unit?
Yeah,
that I gave you,
I do.
we might be able to use that just to back it up temporarily, like move everything there and then move everything back. Even if I was, because I have a 5 terabyte attached to it that I use for backup, and I think that's a 4 terabyte. 4 terabyte. And there's some stuff that I can probably re-download. It wouldn't be that big of a deal, but might be able to reuse. So like we're talking like just under 1,000, huh? For a rig, replacing my file server and my big rig.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, and then case. What are we looking for out of case?
For airflow, I would say no more than like $80, $90.
Wow. With decent fans?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just under 1,000 then.
Yeah.
That's nuts. I think for my big rig, I think it cost me like $1,400.
Wow. And what
Back in,
processor do you have in there? You said the
gosh,
Ryzen,
let me see.
probably the first gen Ryzen.
Yeah, I don't know. Here, let me share my screen. Can you see?
Yep.
Oh no, it's an i7.
Oh, that's the same one that I have in my my old Lenovo Idea Center.
So this is a what, like a 6th generation?
No, third.
3rd generation?
Yeah.
How can you tell the generation? Is it based on this 3 here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. So then my file server is running an AMD. Let's see. Yeah, it's AMD A10 6800K.
Oh, it's the Radeon.
Oh, it's the Radeon.
That's old school.
Yeah, it's only running 2 cores. Yeah, because I don't need it to be powerful. It's not, I mean, it's processing graphics, but it only processes them one time and then it's done. It just serves up the information. And then the file servers, they really don't need a whole lot of processing power. But yeah, I mean, I got my main storage, 11 terabytes.
Jeez.
And then I have a 5 terabyte backup drive because I only need like 5 terabytes of my information backed up. The other the other 5 terabytes are just stuff that I can re-download at any time. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I think I could probably use these right here. Let's see. Go to manage. This is where you see the true hardware here. Disk management. Loading the disk information. Yeah. So yeah, there are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each one is, oh, they're 3 terabytes. Oh, interesting. Okay. They're 3 terabytes each. So 12, and I got 10 out of it.
Wow.
Pretty neat.
Yeah, so basically the operating system looks at all 4 of these as one drive.
11,000 gigs.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a 12 terabyte storage, which only gives me like 9. And then this is a solid state drive. And I thought I had 2 solid state drives in here. Maybe it's just 1. Oh yeah, yeah, it's just one. Yeah, and look, it's only a 250 or a 231 because it's running the operating system. That's all it really runs. Doesn't really run anything. But yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, the big rig. Oops. If I was to go manage that and go to disk management. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, you see, this is a solid state and this is a solid state. And then the storage, I think it's like a 3 or 4 terabyte. Oh, it's a 2 terabyte drive. And I just store like ISO images so I can install my operating system. So when I download like Ubuntu or whatever, I can just download it directly to that drive. And so, but yeah, that's in a nutshell. I mean, so you can see why I can get rid of the file server, because running 2, each one costs like, I want to say like $15 a month to run on the electricity. And so, and then possibly, oh, do the motherboards come with wireless built in? Yeah, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there's some that you could get with Wi-Fi.
And what's the speed on the Wi-Fi? Is it up to
I'm not too sure. I think it varies between motherboards.
Yeah. I know right now I got a gigabit connection between the 2 machines, but if I just put it together, then I could probably run Wi-Fi and put that machine anywhere in the house. So make it portable with the handle. That's portability right there. Not 4 monitors. Cool. All right. So let's land the plane. How do we land the plane, Jonathan?
That concludes our Tech Talk with Beej.
Cool. Thanks for being on the show, Beej.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. See you guys on the next episode.
Road to Code out.
That's how you land a plane.